Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chair Sessions with Dr. D. Today's guest is a talented multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, and vocalist. Her music is a passionate blend of blues, roots, rock, R&B, soul, and gospel. On the line with us today from Wisconsin is Joyann Parker. Joyann is going to talk to us about her music and some reflections on her musical journey and her albums. Welcome aboard, Joyann.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So you've got a great discography there. I've been listening to the music for a while. It's been a big part of my revival. And so let's start out with events leading up to your debut album. I mean, if you want to, you can tell us a little bit maybe about your background, musical background, influences, and we'll tie that into how your first album came about. It's kind of like the crash course up to the first album, right?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
So influences, background. I mean, I was looking at some of your background. You started singing at 2 years old.
That's what my mom says. Yeah, of course I don't remember really. I remember singing, being little and singing at church. But she said I was two and a half, something like that. Yeah. It's just always been part of who I am. I don't remember a time I wasn't singing or playing piano. I started piano at 4. So it's just, that's really little. I think, just about the time you can fit your hands on the keys was when I started taking piano lessons.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were you playing? Like, how were you influenced? What were you listening to?
Well, growing up, my parents very conservative. So we listened to a lot of just oldies, my mom really loved the Beach Boys. And so, those harmonies I learned to love a lot. A lot of Southern gospel type stuff like Gaither Vocal Band and that kind of stuff too. And so those harmonies really kind of resonated with me. And then as I hung out with my uncle, I always blame him for, my corruption, jokingly, because he didn't have any kids and he was a bachelor. And so I'm an only child. So he took me a lot of places for little trips and stuff we would go on. And he was a huge audiophile. He loved everything. And he introduced me to, Tom Petty and Eric Clapton and
rock and roll,
rock and roll, but also really loved old country and stuff too, and he loved, lots of female singers and, so like Emmylou Harris, he had, just everything. He really had a wide variety of music he loved. And so I got introduced to that. And he's actually the first person who got me a radio. So I would sit in my room and listen to my little radio he got me. And, just listen to pop radio too in the 80s.
So are we talking about a transistor radio here?
Well, I don't know. It's a little tiny thing.
I had a transistor radio too, yeah.
Yeah, it was real small. That's all I remember. But yeah, and so I just, and then of course a lot of classical music, with learning piano. I played a lot of that. So just a little bit of everything. I didn't know much. The funny thing is I didn't know much about the kind of music that I play with, soul and blues and stuff, which now this new record is a little more rock and roll. But so that was new to me later in life. So I've just kind of been on a journey myself with music since I was real little.
So that started with the piano, singing early. So the gospel part, were you singing gospel songs too?
Well, I mean, in church, we were pretty white. It wasn't like black gospel for sure. But old hymns and things, yeah, sure. For sure. And my mom was always the piano player at our church growing up. And as soon as I could be involved, then I was. And she also played piano for the community choir in our little town. And so I would go to those rehearsals and listen to a lot of different stuff, show tunes, just everything was kind of around, except for the music I would eventually fall in love with, soul and blues, which was, again, when I found that later in my life, I went, oh, well, I feel like this is a piece of me that's been there this whole time, but I just didn't know about it.
It wasn't really cultivated early on.
Well, no,
like
I
the
grew
other
up
ones?
in northern Wisconsin. Yeah, no, I grew up in the middle of nowhere,
Okay.
Northern Wisconsin. So nobody up there would have known anything about that, really. I mean, I would hear Aretha Franklin, on we used to listen to Super Gold Saturday Night, which was
Oh, yeah.
an oldies station, a show that would come on the weekend, and they play Aretha here and there and some other stuff, and I loved it, but just didn't know enough about it, and yeah,
So when did the blues start? When did you start
way
really
late.
cultivating that? Yeah. So let's
Yeah,
let's
late.
yeah let's take it from the early piano and the singing and very diverse
Yeah,
influences and history.
yeah. Yeah, well,
When did the
I ended up
blues?
going to college for music.
Uh-huh.
I went to college to be a music teacher. So a little bit there, probably when I started playing, I had to be in the jazz band because I played trumpet. And so I had to be in jazz band to get a degree. You had to do those groups. And so that's kind of where I really first heard jazz. I mean, I had never really paid attention to jazz either because,
Hmm.
again, there was nobody listening to that where I'm from. Um, and that was probably the first toe dip. And then I would go listen to lots of friends in jazz groups. And so I would always, every week, we were out at the bars listening to my friends play jazz. So there was that. And then much later, then, let's see, it must have been, I'm trying to think, my son is 15. So 13 years ago, about, I had been in a wedding band for a little bit. That was my only exposure to being in a band ever, was that wedding band. And then about 13 years ago, I decided to do, this was when people still went out a lot back. It didn't seem that long ago, but it feels like long ago. Like they used to have all these singing contests and stuff around town. And there was a band who was putting on a singing contest with a live band. It was like a live karaoke almost. And they did it where you would come and sign up for this thing, and then you would have to come back every week or whatever if you won, right? It was just to
Right.
get people to come into the
Sure.
restaurant. You bring your friends and they clap, and that's how you won. So anyway, it's the first American Idol, or
Oh, nice.
or however long that's gone on. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I decided to do that, and I won. I don't know. You had to do 3 rounds or something, but I ended up winning this contest, and I sang "Chain of Fools" because it was one of the songs that I did in the wedding band a lot, and so I was real comfortable with it. And after that night that I won, a guy came up to me at the end and said, "Hey, my friend is starting a band, and it's going to be kind of a blues band, kind of like what you just did there. Would you be interested in singing?" And I said, sure. I'd talk to him about it, and ended up joining that band. And they were doing a mix of things, kind of soul-based stuff, a little rock and roll, some straight-up blues type stuff. And so that was really my first exposure to blues. I mean, when I started listening to Etta James, I went,
Ooh, yeah.
okay, this is something I feel like I can get.
It resonated with
and
you pretty strong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
was that the band Sweet Tea?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so I was reading something about Sweet Tea, and it, you went on to a state competition and then competed in the IBC. Is that right?
Yeah, our local blues society, the Minnesota Blues Society. Yeah, every blues society, if they want to, or if they have people interested, has a contest, and then whoever wins that gets to go to the International Blues Challenge in Memphis. And we did that. So we had just gotten together. We were a brand new band. So in 2014, it must have been, that's when we competed. Yeah. And we won, and we kind of won on a technicality, and so we kind of ticked people off because this other band was favored to win, and they just went over time. And so we won.
Wow.
And it was a really great experience for me, though. I met a lot of networking.
So when you
met
went,
a lot of people.
you got to go to Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And had
Yeah.
you been to Memphis before?
No, and that opened up a really
Yeah.
big can of worms for me
Yeah.
too.
Well, tell us. So tell us about that a little bit too, because that.
Yeah. Well, to just backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
So, when I first joined that band, that's where I met Mark Lemoyne, who is my now guitar player and musical partner. And he was not the original guitarist in that band, but he tells people when we replaced the original guitarist that he's the only one the dog liked, that the drummer's dog liked. So that's his story. But he was running blues gyms in Minneapolis, and he is the one who kind of said, "You should play guitar." And I had never played guitar. I know how to play a lot of instruments because I'm a band director by trade, but I didn't know guitar. And so, because he said, this would be another voice for you. And I had just started writing music. So we're playing some of my original music at the time. And so I pick up a guitar, I start going to blues jams, and I went every week. I committed to go every week for a year, every Monday. And then sometimes Tuesday, because he did a couple of them in town. And that's really where I learned about blues, like straight up blues. Now, when I get to Memphis, we'll talk about soul a little bit, because that's really where that hit me. But the blues jams is where, I got thrown on stage essentially, and I taught myself a little bit of guitar between Mark showing me a few things and then learning on my own, and just learned basic blues rhythm guitar. And then would go to the jams and go up and sing a couple and then play guitar a couple every night. And the guys that were around Minneapolis at the time were Chicago blues guys who had moved up there, years and years ago. But they're legit Chicago blues men. And so when they figured out that I meant it, and that I wasn't just there to be a quote unquote chick holding a guitar, which, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that
I know.
happens a lot, right? Like,
absolutely.
I'm playing guitar, but I'm just looking cute. That they realized that that's not what I was there for.
Yeah,
that
that you're the real deal. You're working towards the real deal.
Yeah. And when they realized that, they got a little bit meaner because they wanted to push me, because that's how Chicago, they don't mess around. Like, right. If we were in Chicago, they were a little nicer because we're in Minneapolis, because they're in Minnesota, right? But if we would have been in Chicago, there's no niceties, right? It's like, do you want to be here or not? You want to learn or not? So anyway, they did that to me on purpose, and I hung in there. And after I hung in there, they went, "Oh, she means it," and that was really how I learned. And
baptism by fire.
Let's teach her. Yeah, and they taught me. And then they, they would legit just come out and say, like, "No, that's not how you want to play, like the Chicago lump rhythm. Here's how it goes. Do this." And they did not do that for most people, because most people just come and want to mess around and have a good time, and they're not trying to learn, right? They just want to come play their guitar. So anyway, that is really how I learned a lot about the guitar, especially, but singing as well. Just able to develop a style, the blues style, in a place where they were really playing blues, right? Like legit blues. So that was huge for me. And then Memphis came in, and then we went to Memphis. I went to the Stax Museum, and I was ruined forever. I just was like, this music they're playing it through the whole, I don't know if you've ever been there, but like they're playing, all the music from over the years throughout the museum as you're walking through and you're listening to this music. And I'm like, where has Otis Redding been my whole life? All I knew was 𝘱𝑗𝑠, I knew. If that's all you know, you don't know Otis Redding. Like, you're just listening to this music going, holy smokes.
You're literally immersed in it there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then went to Sun Studios, and same thing, right? Like, you're looking around just going, and I'm a historian. So this whole time I have been studying. I never wanted to be the person who just started appropriating this music. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be the white girl who thought she was singing. You know what I mean? I just didn't want that. I wanted to give it the respect it deserved. And especially since I was writing music that derived from that, I wanted to make sure that I understood it. I knew where it came from. I knew what it meant to the original people who wrote it and where it came from. So I was studying the whole time. I went back to Robert Johnson, and I listened to everything I get my hands on, right from the beginning. And then I did the same thing with soul music. And of course, I'm still exploring all of it, because you can't possibly get to the end of it.
Right.
But yeah. And so that's really, I went home and I wrote, a bunch of songs then, kind of on that Hard to Love record. On the first one are from my experience in Memphis. Memphis is on that song called Memphis, and then Envy, and all those songs are written from that.
So had you been writing before?
Yeah, I started writing. Yeah, because when we went to Memphis, we brought down originals, and so I had some originals already done. They've all been redone on all my records except for I think 2 of the songs that we originally did with Sweet Tea. So I've redone them all over the years.
wow.
I've kind of reimagined them and made them with the band that I'm with, have been with, and yeah. But I mean, we made a record, and it's it sold like a few copies to our parents, 2 copies to my mother.
Had you always been attracted to writing? Like, did the writing come easy for you, or did that develop
No,
after?
no, I never wrote ever.
Wow.
There's another story with that. It was at the Blues Jam. I still to this day, one of my songs I always sing is "I'd rather go blind," and so does every other female blues singer ever.
Right.
But I always say I do it better, so I keep doing it. But but that song was just my song from the jam that I would do, and I was up one night singing it, and I went and sat at the bar, and there was a white guy, sitting next to me. And I introduced myself, and he said, hey, I'm little Bobby. I'm a blues artist. And he was from way up in northern Minnesota. And, he said he'd been playing blues for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And he asked me straight up, he goes, are you white? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I couldn't tell.
Wow. Wow.
He said, I couldn't tell.
Wow.
I didn't know because he's blind. He couldn't see me.
Wow.
So, and he goes, do you understand what you have? And I'm like, I don't know. Here, I'm all new to this. I don't know. And he goes,
so was it sinking in at that point or not really?
I mean, I don't know. I was just having fun, I guess, at the time. I don't know. But then he goes, well, do you write music? And I said, well, no, I've never written a song. And he goes, why not? And so I don't know. I guess I didn't think I could. And he said, you're a woman. You can write. You got stuff to write about. Go write. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And he recently passed away not too long ago, but he was a big champion of women artists. He really loved to make shows with female artists and stuff. And so anyway, so he's the reason why I went home and tried to write. I thought, well, nobody ever encouraged me to do it. And isn't it funny? So we were talking about, mental health and stuff.
Sure.
How one encouraging word from somebody, like if you think that you shouldn't say something to somebody, say it, because you think it's not going to make a difference. But literally that one comment.
Amen. Yeah.
Got me to write. And it just took one encouraging word.
Sometimes we really don't sometimes realize the power of our words, and whether it's one word or 2. Now think about the power in music in the song. So, and that's what we're going to get to, because your music is powerful. I mean, if I had to use a word to describe your music, listening to all of your albums and kind of coming up, power is definitely one. Powerful, powerfully deep. So you got the songs ready together for Hard to Love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some of those were, some of those were off of that first record, and then some I wrote. Okay. After our trip to Memphis, yeah.
And that was your debut album in 2018.
Right. Mm-hmm.
13 original songs, and very soulful, kind of like a southern rock blues. I hear your jazz influences in that one also.
Mm-hmm. That's a little everything.
Yeah, a little bit of Motown, right? New Orleans, Memphis. There's Memphis. That's a powerful song. There's a couple lyrics in there. Wow. Darkness tried to swallow me, but let's see. I can't even
read
I think
about what I done.
I think about yeah. Whoa. Powerful song. You want to talk about any reflections on the making of that, or during or afterwards when you were finished with it?
Yeah.
Insights.
We made that record. We made that on our own, kind of, which was an interesting process. So my bass player at the time knew a guy who had, did a little producing in his basement, and so it took a long time because of that, right? Because you're just always trying to figure out when people have time to get together and
sure.
Do all that stuff. So it was kind of arduous in that way. But songwriting wise, when you start writing songs when you're 33 or whatever, I was like, you have a lot to work through. So a lot of those songs are very angsty, right? They're from like my, I had a relationship I was in for 7 years. It did not go well when I was between like 15 and 22. And so there's just a lot to write about when you're thinking about all your past pain. And
Sure.
and so I was kind of working all that out. So yeah, it was a little arduous. I was kind of tired at the end and kind of went, do I really want to ever do that again? Because it just took so long, cheap, but long, right? You're like, well, we saved money. But
well, the other thing too is, it probably wasn't the easiest thing to purge through all those emotions too, because I mean, there's a good whirlwind in that album.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah.
I could see that after it's done, you're like, shoo. Wow.
Yeah, and I had babies. I had little ones.
Wow. Okay.
So I had a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So I'm trying to be mom and do all that stuff and figure out, like, just kind of working through a lot of stuff. Like, what am I doing? Do I really want to? This is a lot of work. Do I really want to do this?
Well, the interesting thing too about that is that it's your debut album. You've got this rich album with all these pretty deep emotion songs, excellent musicianship throughout the whole thing, and here you are telling me that it was your first foray into writing, and that's wild. Yeah. I mean, that's the lyrics and the writing on that album is fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, seriously, and you put that out independently, right?
Yep. All of them have been, yeah.
All of them have been independent, and so that's a whole nother probably a whole nother podcast episode, right? So, you had hesitation about, oh boy, do I want to do this again? And of course, life is moving on now. Your life is different than it was before all this, right?
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, in 2021. Out of the Dark comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it go from hesitation to this, and I'm going to say this great album in 2021, which was produced with my buddy, my musical guru, songwriting guru, Kevin Bowe. Tell us about the transition from the debut album to the Out of the Dark.
Well, it came with all of its own crap with COVID in between and all that stuff. Just, not being able to be in the studio and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So all that. I think that I just came to the realization I did not want to do it on my own again. I wanted to work with somebody who I could go in. They would have a studio set up, know what they're doing, be able to get stuff done. That's kind of what led me to Kevin. My nephew, he was one of my nephew's professors at IPR, and so
great.
That's kind of how I found out about him. And so I just met him at my nephew's graduation.
Oh, wow.
I said, hey, I'm thinking about making a record, and he said, give me a call. So I just figured that Kevin had the knowledge I wanted for the kind of music that I wanted to make. The background, working with people that I love their music, so I thought, he's going to be able to do it.
So that's what I was going to ask. So, what did you know of Kevin beforehand, as far as who he's worked with and the people that he's produced with?
Yeah, I didn't know anything until, with my nephew. And then I looked him up and went, oh, okay, well, he has a little bit of credit.
Right.
Well, I always told him, I didn't even know if he would wanted to, we're working with just anybody, and
right.
Of course he just likes making good music. And so he was very excited to do it. And that was really fun. So we just decided to not try and do that soul-sucking process of doing it, having it take 2 years, or whatever. For us to music making, as I've come along this last, 13 years or whatever, making and made these records now, I learned that I didn't want to just write a song and then go in and record it, not having had played it a while.
Mm-hmm.
So it does take me a little longer because I write the songs, I give it to the band, we go play it, we change things. I want my players to be able to say, hey, I had an idea, what about this? Because I want them to be able to put their personalities in on it too. And because we are a band, I don't just have a bunch of guys pick up. I don't have a pickup band. I mean, we have a
Yeah.
band. We play together all the
Cool.
time. So that makes a difference to me. I want those guys to have a little bit of their signature on stuff. And
Sure.
so
You're
it
giving
does
them
take
some
us a little
artistic,
longer.
yeah, giving them some artistic, some of their artistic freedom to bring
I
their
mean,
authenticity into it.
right. Yeah. Like if they have an idea, like, hey, I think like this, and I can, say yes or no or whatever. But yeah, we just play the songs out in front of people for a while. And that way I feel much better about when they go on the record. I don't get the record home and then 6 months later go, oh, we don't even play it like that anymore. I wish we would have waited.
Yeah, you
Because I
give it a
talked to
chance
other artists. Yeah.
to feel it out.
Yeah, to let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
I've talked to other people that told me that they did that and they regretted it, right? And so I didn't want to do that. So I'm okay with that. It feels better to me to not be pumping records out just because
Sure.
I can. I mean, I have enough songs. I could, but I don't really want to do that.
Yeah. So was the writing for for Out of the Dark, did that all occur, after the Hard to Love, or did you use some material that wasn't used on Hard to Love, or was it all new material coming out of COVID?
Not all new material. Again,
Okay.
I re-recorded a couple of the tunes that I wrote way early with Sweet Tea. So a couple of those are on there. And then I'm always writing, and I'm always just sometimes, I just have notebooks full of stuff.
So you got into the
I'm
writing
sure that
bug.
yeah,
You got the writing
I
bug.
just write when I can. I don't write regularly. I just
Sure.
write when I can. So I just always have stuff. So I had some of that, and then I did write new things. So when we were forced out of the studio, because I think I might be patient zero actually for COVID. We were kind of joking about that because Mark and I went to NAMM in January out in LA, and that's kind of where they thought maybe it started, was one of the places that COVID kind of started.
Oh, wow.
Well, when we came back, we went to the studio, and then literally Kevin was flying somewhere the next week, and he was like, I've never been this sick. I have never been, and I'm like, we didn't know, of course, at the time what it was, right? We were all sick though. And then in March or whatever, April, March or April was like, oh, wait a second. I think we already had it. I think we're done.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like that, right?
Yeah.
We had it before it was before it was fashionable.
A thing.
Before it was a thing, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was the front runner.
But yeah, so Out of the Dark ranked, or it peaked at number 11 on the Billboard Blues album chart.
Yeah.
So it got good recognition, and
that's from sales. That's
great
just my
reviews.
fans. They're just great. Yes. Yeah.
Carry On is a notable track on that one. Kind of like a blues rock, and there's the gospel's in there. Great video.
Gospel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, great video. It's a very uplifting, for coming out of it is. It's coming out of the dark, and so it wasn't doom and gloom. It was it was the hope.
Right.
It was the light at the trying to see the light at the end of a tunnel, which we didn't even know how deep it was or where it was going to go. Right.
Well, right. Yeah. And that's the thing. That record was supposed to come out in June, and of course it didn't because we weren't done. And I wrote Out of the Dark right during that time. It wasn't even called Out of the Dark. I mean, the record was supposed to be called Out of the Dark, but it didn't have a song called Out of the Dark until May or June.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. So then that was the last song we recorded. And I usually produce my songs pretty fully. That was the first time I had let Kevin, I just said, hey, here's a song. I want you to produce it. Mm-hmm. So that was the first time I had kind of handed it over to him.
Okay.
And let him produce it. But yeah, so then it came out in September. So I don't even remember when I wrote that, but it was when we were locked up. I mean, I was staying at a friend's house in the middle of Wisconsin because it was just like, we got to get out of the house. And so we went to my friend's place in the middle of nowhere and just kind of shacked up there for a while. And that's where I wrote that song. And it was very fitting. I mean, it's meant to happen that way. It was just weird that I had that song or that title, right? And I didn't have a song.
And
I couldn't have written it yet. It wasn't ready.
I always say this, like the universe gives us what we need at the time when we need it, usually, as long as we're open to kind of listening to it. One of the lyrics, I think it was on Carry On, just was like, it sums the whole thing up. Like, keep your head up and keep your eyes on him.
Mm-hmm.
And
look up.
If
That's what I was saying, like, look up.
And if you could do that, it's gonna get you through it. And there was all kinds of craziness going on. Gone So Long, I want to mention that one too. Another great track. I love the acoustic slide guitar on that. Kind of got southern rock kind of feel to it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty traditional blues. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Stylistically, how would you describe this stylistic change from Hard to Love to Out of the Dark? Anything stand out for you as far as like maybe what you did differently or how things changed from the two?
I think probably there's less Memphis soul on that one.
Okay.
All my records are all of just a bunch of different styles. So I think Kevin said once that, I always felt bad about it. Like, I should have some kind of theme on a record or something because they don't know how to put me in what genre to put me in.
I think
and
that's
Kevin
great.
said, you just write songs. I mean, that's what he said to somebody once. He's like, she just writes songs. If it's a good song, it's a good song. Just a songwriter and goes with that instead of going, I'm going to write a blues record or, whatever.
Yeah, so this is making sense for me now because it sounds to me like, a lot of your songs, in addition to being powerful, I talked about authenticity, and I think this is where I really feel like maybe the authenticity comes in. You probably had an attraction for the authenticity anyway, and then you pair up with Kevin, who again, he's another one with, authenticity and just kind of like going with the flow, not like you said, not being kind of put into a box, a genre or whatever, and just kind of writing what's resonating.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly it. And I think as I got older, I cared less and less about that. I think when I first started out, I thought, oh, I'm a blues person. Now I have to write blues song. Like it has to fit.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I dressed a certain way.
Yeah, right.
And I was dressing uncomfortably, but it fit with what I thought I was supposed to look like, and just all that stuff. And so especially when I turned 40, I was like, I don't care anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Isn't it liberating when you just can kind of be the creative force that you want to be without worrying about that?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm kind of glad I didn't start real young because I can see why people get pulled off course because they get told, oh, you have to do this and that, and you want to make money, then you got to do this. Yeah. And I didn't really worry about that.
And you know what? That's what I love about a lot of the, and I'll say blues artists just because it's, it's easier to explain, but the artists within the blues realm and everything that encompasses that, there is that, I find that there just is that level of authenticity that just really connects people to some pretty deep emotions. And
well, that's what it's about.
Yeah,
right?
It really is.
Where it came from. I mean, it comes from slavery.
Yeah.
It comes from sharecropping. I mean, this is a language. It's more of a language, and it is about the emotion more so even than anything else.
And it's about a history. Right?
Yeah. It's storytelling. And it's just, I think pop music, that's why I can't really deal with it because it's just not my thing. Like I think that's why I'm not cut out for everybody because you have to think to listen to my music too. Like
and you have to feel
like sugar.
You have to be able. You have to be able to feel, and sometimes, when you feel. There's a pretty wide range of, and it's not all peaches and cream sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to do that, but
Yeah.
You have to be ready you kind of have to be ready to do that.
Absolutely.
That, but
and what I love about your music too is that it really covers the range. It really covers a wide range of emotional expression and depth. I mean, I think honestly, there's something that anyone who is not afraid to look at their feelings and feel their feelings can connect to on any one of your albums.
Yeah. Well, that's my goal, is to just, you say authenticity. I can't be any other way. You get what you get. If you like it, you like it. If you
Right
don't, you
on.
don't. I mean, it has to be for me, first of all. If it's not for me, I'm not going to do it. Like, I write because I want to do it, and I wrote for me. And then you hope that by creating good art, that there's going to be other people who resonate with it and
Yeah.
go like, hey, that I feel like she sees what I'm going through. But you can't try and pander to people. I mean, you
No.
can, and you can get across. I mean,
Sure.
there's great songwriters who have written great songs that are quote unquote emotional or whatever. And
Right.
I'm sure that a lot of people who like them, but that's a different level. This is a different level, like,
Absolutely.
of that. So yeah.
So then, a couple years later, let's see, 2023, Roots, and this kind of gets to the core of what we're just talking about. Perfect segue into Roots. In 2023, you released Roots, and I was reading an interview somewhere where you said Roots is like purely, well, all of your music is, but Roots was kind of like this project where you intentionally were being true to yourself. Would you say
Yeah.
that's accurate?
Yeah. And I'd had a lot of stuff happen there. If you look at my earlier stuff, my image was very vintage, very sculpted, very, perfect on those record covers and stuff. And my good friend Leela, who was my muse for all of that stuff, passed away in a accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so I lost her. And so when I lost her, she was my person that I would call with these ideas and go like, hey, I have this in my head. And, what do you think? And she'd say, oh, I see this, So she was really a big part of my team. So when she passed, it really was one of the catalysts. There were others as well, just my own healing journey, where I was at, just lots of things. But I had to reinvent myself. Like, I felt like I had to just end all that. Like, I was done. I was done anyway, I think. But that was really where I went, okay, it's really over. I need to be me, like who am I? And I had started that whole thing kind of during COVID, I think, when I when I talk about COVID, I got a lot of benefit out of that time because I was able to stop without judgment, right? Without people, because when you stop, people go, "Oh, why isn't she working?"
Yeah,
right? Because you get judged for that, and
we
so
were
I was able to do it.
Yeah, we were allowed to practice the pause. We were given. We were almost like, I use this analogy with somebody else. It's like we're sent to our rooms to think about everything, that we haven't been,
Yes.
either that we've been trying to avoid or that we need to look at. You like go to your room and think about this. Yeah, we didn't have time, and now it's like we got to practice the pause.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest problems is that people are not dumb or unwilling or anything like that. It's just we are in a culture that celebrates busyness, celebrates doing, hustling, going, do more. And so I think that people just literally don't have time. And that's why when people start to judge other people about, oh, they don't know this, I'm like, maybe you should I wish we would just take a little time and still talk to one another.
Right.
And just actually not assume so many things about each other, because I would bet that a lot of people just really don't know, because they're raising kids and they're running to basketball games and they're doing all the things. And so that for me was a time when I'm like, oh, good, I have an excuse to think through all of this. What do I want to do? How do I want my career to go? What kind of music do I really want to do? And all that kind of stuff. So and that was there's a whole bunch going on.
So creatively, emotionally, spiritually, even probably.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had loss, and then all the craziness coming out of the craziness of COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of things going on. So changes, some transitioning into Roots. So that one, we hear you on the cigar box.
Mm-hmm.
Was that something that you had been learning before?
No, I had just a fan made me one and
That's awesome.
brought it to me. And so I went, oh, well, this is a good excuse how I use it.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, so that was fun. Totally just out of the blue, kind of. Yeah.
And then the title track, the electric guitar on that one. Wow. And I think so you had some background singers on that one. One of them I'm familiar with, Patricia Lacey.
Yeah, Pat.
Another
Yep.
powerful vocalist.
Yeah. Kevin loves to use Pat. Pat's on my new record too. Yeah.
Some great songwriting on there that, again, very, very, very powerful. And I think that one really does have I mean, all of the albums have a spiritual undertone. This one really is not. It's not even a spiritual undertone. I'll call it revival. Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wash It Away is one of the tracks. My favorite. I have to talk about this one. Electrifying vocal performance. The guitar is just smoking. The vocals are smoking. Forsaken.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about?
Yep.
Can you talk about that one?
Yeah, probably just came out of. That's just a straight up blues, right? That's just I don't know. Probably just on a day that I felt like just channeling all the crap.
That's
right?
it. You know what? That's it. You channeled it. You channeled it, and you bring the audience. You bring us right into your private space while you're having this conversation.
Yeah.
With your higher power.
Yeah.
It gives you chills. It gives me chills.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like I think it's important to. I've thought a lot about this. Like, oh, do I put this? Like, there's another one on there. I've Going Under on there too is one I thought, like, do I put this even on here because it seems so depressing. I want to make sure that I have a balance. Like, I'm never going to put out a whole depressing album and just be like, there you go, enjoy. I don't know what you're going to do with that.
Well,
I like to make sure that I have a balance of reality of saying, like, I struggle too, but here my message is, there's hope at the end of the tunnel. It's just like, as I said, for me, Jesus saved my life. I can't do anything without him. So I have this, like, I know what it feels like.
Yes.
That's the thing, right? Where I'm like, I know what it feels like to be in that hole. I'm going to come down there with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold your hand while you're in the hole. And you don't have to be here alone, right? That's my message.
So I am with you on relating to that. And so I agree. I think you do an awesome job of keeping that balance. And
good.
The cool thing is that when you really open yourself up to feeling the whole range of emotions, which of course, we talked about it, that, it's not all peaches and cream sometimes. And sometimes we're really down in the trenches, in the depths of darkness. And, but that's part of what makes us human, and when we can, listen to something like that and relate to it, it makes us feel like we're not alone.
You're not alone, yeah. I don't want, my thing is that I don't want to celebrate it, right?
Sure,
like, I want to be careful that I'm not celebrating the depression.
Definitely not.
That's your words again, right? Like, I don't want to say, like, hey, this is all,
Yeah. No. Well,
but acknowledging it is
yes,
different.
Acknowledging it, and then those other songs, like you said, that kind of balance things out. They are the fire, I'll call it, of the spirit, the revival spirit. And so on this album, you really get it all.
Yeah.
And like life, you experience it all, and you come out of it you come out in the light, hopefully uplifted and in a real authentic way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's my message. That's why I'm out here. That, it's not to be famous. It's not to, make $1 bazillion. If that happens, fantastic. But that's not my message. My message is just to be real with people and exactly what you just said. just be in. Like I said, I always tell people in my shows, I'm like, there we can be. I want to come down in the pit with you. I'm not going to stand up here and be like, hey, come on up here. It's much better. I
Yeah.
mean, you can do that to people all day long.
Sure.
But sometimes you just need to go be with them.
Yeah.
Where they are for a little bit. And then you can say, come on,
Yeah.
like it doesn't, I love positivity, but then that can get toxic too. So, like, yay.
Yeah, we don't want to be
everything is
like
great.
Pollyanna, right? The
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that I got to say, powerful album. I encourage listeners to check out all your albums. This one in particular, if you have a spiritual appeal, this one really will give you the whole range. Roots, Joyann Parker. And so then now, so you're working on. So this is exciting. You're working on your latest, Lifelines, right?
Yes, right.
And
Yep.
I was reading somewhere this is dealing with themes of resilience and personal growth.
Yeah.
Can you give us any little tidbits about this one so far?
This one is more upbeat. I think I'm at a place where just songwriting wise, I'm changing again. I'm kind of feel like I've gotten through a lot of stuff. I've worked through a lot of stuff. And so I don't really want to, I feel the need to revisit some of that stuff, if that makes sense. And so I'm almost at the place where I'm like, I'm moving on to a different era of songwriting for me. There's definitely more storytelling, but there's also like about other people's stories, like not my stories as much. Whereas like there were a lot of pieces of myself in the last records. This one, there's just some general storytelling.
Sure.
Like almost writing a novel. And then there's, but also there are a couple like very autobiographical, like probably the most honest I've ever been on a record on this one.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like literally one is just a story direct out of my life. So, which was, again, I almost didn't put on the record because I thought, no, who wants to listen to this? Like, this is just about me and who cares? And the guys in the band absolutely said, no, we're going to record this. You're not going to not put this on the record. So,
so you're pushing the boundaries of authenticity even further.
Yeah, like a legit, this is my story. And who knows? And again, it's for me, right? Like, I hope maybe somebody will get it, but maybe they won't. And that's okay too.
I can't wait.
So there's one that's just about my kids, like about being, remember I told you that when I first started, I had little kids and I was struggling through a lot of mental health stuff at the time. And I didn't feel like a very good mom. And so I wrote a song directly to my kids about that. It's called Think of Me. Oh,
beautiful.
So definitely kind of both ends of the spectrum songwriting wise on this record.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're expanding your creative license to, like you said, be able to tell stories. They may, maybe one or two or a couple might not be your own, but there are things that you could seriously relate to or that resonate strong with you. And like you said, other people may relate to them also. So Lifelines is the name of the new one. Is there anything released yet from there or no?
Yeah, Got Love came out a couple weeks ago at the end of last month. And then End of the Line will be out next Friday.
Got Love. So yeah, talk about positivity. That's like the one we need right now. So talk about timing on that one.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And right before Valentine's Day. I was like, this is perfect.
Got Love off the Lifelines, the new release. The full album is going to be released in the end of March. Is that right?
End of March. Yep. 27th.
Okay.
Yep.
Lifelines, new release, March 27th, Joyann Parker. Joyann, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your music and sharing your gift of music with such authenticity and passion, powerful music. And so I'm encouraging everybody to check out your catalog, listen to the music. Everyone's going to find something that they can connect to. And again, thank you again for sharing that all with us. there's a lot of healing in there, and there's a lot of connection in there. And
Well, thank you so much.
keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot to have you basically say back what my goal is to me, that you're getting it. So that means a lot.
Right on. Thanks again, Joyann.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Did you come here for laughter? Did you come for something good? Did you come out of obligation? Was it something you felt you should? Or did you come here for love? Did you come for love?